Americans. They have a long history of unique types of motorsport. From IndyCar to bagger racing, they always do things just a little bit differently than the rest of the world. Some of those motorsports have managed to travel across the Atlantic and make an impact over here in the UK. The most successful of which, in my opinion, is drag racing, which has always been a staple of American motorsport and has recently been growing in popularity in the UK, with places like Santa Pod leading the charge. One motorsport that never really caught on over here, but is absolutely massive in America, is good old-fashioned NASCAR. But what if I told you the UK has its own special type of NASCAR, the American Cup Car Series? NASCAR, or the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, grew from a pastime for prohibition bootleggers showing off who had the fastest cars to one of the biggest sport franchises in the country. Big names like Dale Earnhardt and Richard Petty catapulted NASCAR into one of America's premier motorsports. Over here in the UK though, we do things a little bit differently, and the closest thing we have to it on the big stage is touring car racing, which at a glance seems similar, however the tracks and racing could not be further apart. There is, however, a niche community of NASCAR fans in Britain who run the American Cup Car Series, which is what I want to talk about today. The best way to describe the American Cup Car Series is if you imagine NASCAR but scaled down. The cars are 2/3 sized, the circuits are much smaller than the American tracks, and the engines are for motorbikes, much smaller than massive American V8s. The chassis is a full space frame design, built in America and shipped over here to the UK, with a fiberglass body over the top, similar to the design of modern NASCARs. The power plant is a motorbike engine, but don't let that fool you, these things pack a punch, weighing in at around 700 kilos and making around 140 horsepower. Combine that with a sequential gearbox and fully adjustable quick change diff, and you've got quite the racing machine on your hands. Also, they sound absolutely spectacular. My god, those things are loud. Holy moly. Holy moly indeed. Pro tip, if you're going to go watch these things, bring some ear protection. Anyway, I wanted to speak to one of the drivers about what goes into keeping these incredible machines running, and the race prep involved. Mark Trevarthen was kind enough to explain it to me.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm Mark Trevarthen, and the Class R racing is the American Cup Cars.
How much upkeep goes into the car over the weekend, and how much prep do you have to do before you come to the race weekend?
Yeah, there's a reasonable amount. The good thing about these is it's designed to be quite a low maintenance and low cost formula. But yeah, obviously it's an air-cooled engine. We try and look after that. So it's frequent oil changes. You know, we'll spanner check the car every time between times. The setup is very key as well.
Right. Okay.
There's a lot of variables on the car you can change to make it go around a quarter-mile oval as fast as it can. So we're all the best drivers in the sport will be very much all over the setup, making sure the weights on each corner are correct, you know, camber, caster, everything you can do to optimise it. So that takes a bit of time as well. Yeah.
As Mark said, this sport is designed to be a relatively low-cost race series. Their website claims that for £6,000 you can buy a race-ready car, and they estimate annual running costs at only £2,000. That may sound like a lot for some people, but in the world of motorsport that's a really low cost for a lot of return. I've heard of people in the karting world spending well over £10,000 a season, so for a formula as exciting as this, it's incredible value. Now that doesn't mean a lot of work doesn't go into keeping these things running through the weekend. This series is a non-contact series, but anyone who's watched NASCAR before knows that things can get pretty wild on an oval. This means repairing damage is a constant battle throughout the weekend. Add tyres, brakes and maintenance to that, and it's enough to keep anyone busy. I managed to get an interview with the reigning champion of the series, Harry Tiller, to find out a bit more about all the time and effort that goes on behind the scenes that makes this race series possible. Harry is a real up-and-comer, with this being his last year in the series before moving on to a new challenge. Harry and his dad make up his race team, and they really set the standard for other drivers. Harry was truly on form this weekend and went on to win multiple races.
My name is Harry Tiller, I'm 24. I've been racing the American Cup car for 4 years. It's my 4th year, I think it is. I'm trying to remember, but and so I finally won the championship in it last year. And then
the number one's not just for show, is it?
No, that's signifies. I wasn't going to run it, but everyone in the front was like, "No, you should show it off."
Of course,
doing well.
Do it in gold as well.
Yeah,
that's what you got to do.
But and now this is like almost like a farewell tour sort of thing. I've got a 2-litre hot rod that I'm moving into. Won my first race in that at Aldershot a couple of weeks back, but that's a new learning curve. Those boys know how to play.
You just tell me, it's a motorbike engine.
So Yamaha XJR 1300 engine, just full fiberglass shell, full space frame, originally made in America, but they've brought them over here, and and then it's just taken off from there, and they are great. Like, they're very similar to the Legends in terms of running gear, like quick change rear axles and lock diff. So they're very similar, just a bit heavier, narrower, slightly longer wheelbase, and very similar racing if you look at the two handle. But it's they are. You look at them and they're 2/3 scale NASCAR size. You think, oh, they're a small car, but then you get them out on track. They've got some grunt in them.
But a lot of setup changes as well.
Yeah, so we put a lot of time and effort to this. We're actually running a bit less power than most people are, just for reliability, really, because we just have the money to throw at it. So we've developed the setup, and that's ultimately what's won me the championship. It's just this. Don't get me wrong, I feel like I'm a decent driver, but I've had to develop that to make it, to give me that little edge.
Yeah, I don't think you make it to being a champion without being a decent driver.
Well, yeah, but the car does what I want it to do, and that's half the battle. And that's the people see the finished product, but they don't see the endless hours that my dad spent on it in the garage, and the hours spent setting it up, and that time is just as important as the time you spend out on the track. It is frustrating sometimes, because you almost don't feel like people give you credit for what you're doing for. And that's the thing, when you look at these national hot rod boys and the Brisker F1 boys, it's a lifestyle. They're not just doing it like a half attempt. They're putting full effort into it. That's their lives. They come home from work, they work on their race cars, and that's why you've got to do it if you want to be competitive. As much as I do enjoy racing them, I don't want to just be making up the numbers. I want to be going out there and pushing people and seeing how far we can go with it.
I think what Harry says here is an extremely important thing to bear in mind, not just for this race series, but for all motorsport. The amount of work and dedication it takes just to get to the track is immense, and it can all be undone in a small accident and a handful of bad luck. It really says a lot about the character of these drivers, that this isn't just a hobby for them. As Harry said, it's a lifestyle. Now, one of the biggest setbacks in this racing series is getting caught up in a crash. It can cause race weekend ending damage and set you back months of tuning and development. I wanted to find out more about how the drivers view contact on track, and Mark was more than happy to talk me through it. Do you avoid contact, or is it just part of stock car racing?
In this class we avoid contact, or at least we try to. Here there's probably about 15 cars today. Sometimes on the quarter mile there'll be anything up to 25 of these cars, and so it's a track
for 15 cars.
Exactly, yeah. So sometimes a bit of rubbing's inevitable. Like the car came here this weekend looking pretty smart, and now there's a few battle scars on it, but that's hopefully as far as it goes. Yeah.
Sadly for Mark, this isn't as far as it went. As the first day of racing was drawing to a close and the sun was setting, Mark was caught up in an incident that really wasn't his fault.
Jesus Christ.
was a big hit as well. That was a big hit. He seems alright, he's walking around, so they all are, all the drivers, but my god, that was a big old hit. I caught up with Mark afterwards off camera and he assured me that he wasn't hurt, which really is a testament to the safety features on these cars. Sadly though, his chassis was bent, and the damage sustained in the accident meant that his weekend was cut short. What really stood out to me is Mark's spirit and positive attitude about the whole thing. He was immediately focused on getting his car back on the track, but the damage was just too much. Okay, so that was a bit depressing. Let's talk about something a bit more upbeat. Did you know they have a junior formula to the American Cup cars? The series is for 8 to 16 year olds, this time in half-scale cars with 390cc engines in the back. This series is designed to give the younger generation of racers a feel for the cars before jumping straight into the beasts that are the senior class. One man I was absolutely desperate to get an interview with over the weekend was Adam Slater, who not only ran his senior car, but also 2 junior cars for his 2 sons. I'm struggling to describe the amount of respect I have for this man, as he is not only a racer, but also the mechanic for his whole family. Let's hear what Adam has to say about his racing family.
So I'm Adam Slater and I race senior American Cup cars, or American Cup cars, and then these 2 little ones are junior American Cup cars. My oldest son is Andrew in the 24 and Noah's in the 50 car.
We've been doing both quite well today as well, the racing.
Yeah, they've been doing both quite well, but they've been doing quite a bit of knocking bits off of them in between. Andrew's had a bit of a failure yesterday, broke the frame that holds the engine in, so we had the engine, axle and all the frame out last night, welded it up.
Right, okay.
And it was, it's been a bit of a task to get it all back together this morning, but we've managed it. So yeah, they're going all right.
Yeah, and yourself as well. You got a 3rd position in that last race.
Got 3rd, so I'm chuffed with that. We've had a tough start to the year because Andrew was in hospital a week or 2 weeks before the first race of the year.
Yeah.
So he missed the first meeting. I didn't really get much time to spend on mine, so it was really bad at Hennisford, and it wanted a good setup. So we've spent best part of 2 days on it before coming here, and it's really made a difference.
Right.
So I'm glad it's back somewhere on there.
Yeah.
We're not quite there yet. Can't keep up with number 1, but I don't think we'll keep up with him, to be honest.
Well,
no matter what.
He's pretty quick.
Try.
He is pretty quick. You were saying earlier that these are essentially go-kart engines. Well, the engines from these are out of a water pump, you say?
Yeah, so you can use the Lonson or the Honda 390. So they're like a universal industrial engine that they use on go-karts, lawnmowers. I got them from a pump place that did pressure washers, so they use them on their petrol-powered pressure washers. So yeah, that's all they are, and a centrifugal clutch on the end of that and chain to the axle. So
it's incredible. These are nuts. I love the whole family thing as well. I think that's amazing. All 3 of you come out here to race.
I don't know how much longer it's going to carry on because it's such hard work with 3.
Yeah.
I mean, Libby, my wife, does her best. Andrew's 14 now, so he's kind of Xbox and grunts. You don't really get a lot of communication from him. Noah's keen, but you've got 2 kids and a missus who's trying their best, but it's mostly on me, so it's hard work.
How long do you think before one of them's in one of these?
Well, Andrew's 15 at the end of next year, and there is something in the rule where he can get into a cup car if they deem him safe enough at 15, but his ideal is that he makes it to 16, retires from this, and we have a year racing together in the seniors, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I never know.
I don't know. We'll see.
What really blows my mind about Adam is that he really is a one-man band. Not only does he fix, set up and maintain all 3 race cars, but he built the truck and trailer he uses to transport them to the track.
It's pretty incredible, the setup as well. You've got the 2 cars inside, and then you tow one of them on a trailer.
Yeah, so we started with mine on a trailer, and then we bought a bigger van when Andrew got his. So his went in the van. It was like an ex-council minibus with air suspension. So his went in the van. We had a bed over the top of it. Mine in the trailer, and then obviously when Noah's came along, we bought the truck, and it's been an absolute nightmare, the truck. It's such hard work.
Yeah.
We've converted it. It came as an empty truck. We did all the work to it, which is why it looks a bit But now basically we've got a ramp in the back that lifts up Andrew's car, mine goes underneath it, and then Noah's goes on the trailer, which is just around the corner.
Yeah.
I mean, I made the trailer myself as well, so that's
really incredible. Yeah, incredible amount of work just to get here. You know, never mind the racing, just everything you've got.
I have to do it all because I can't afford to pay somebody else to do it, which is the thing. So in an ideal world, at the end of every year, I could send the fiberglass bodies off to somebody to do, you know, but I can't afford that. So
instead
I have to do the steel work, the fiberglass, the truck, the cars, everything. And
man of many talents.
Hence why I don't think it's going to be 3 cars for much longer.
It's truly an incredible amount of work, and really goes to highlight what Harry said earlier, that this series really is won by grit, commitment and determination. Now, I've spoken a lot about all the work that goes into getting these cars to the start of the race, because I think it's just as important as the racing on the track. But let's take a break from that for a minute, and talk about the on-track action. I asked everyone what they thought it took to be a good oval racer. Let's hear what they have to say.
What do you think is the best strategy for winning in a race like this, an oval race?
I haven't done a lot of winning, Laurie, so I might not be the best person to ask. But I think it's persistence. It's really hard to win, especially in this class because all the cars are fundamentally the same. It's hard to win. I would say, it's consistency and sometimes patience. You know, a lot of people think they're going to win it on the first lap, and you've got 20 laps to do it in. So it's patience and consistency.
What do you think makes a good oval racer?
I mean, different cars lend to different styles, but the thing with oval racing that sets it apart from pretty much every other racing is racecraft. Right. You can be the quickest guy out there every day of the week, but if you can't pass people or get underneath them, go around their outside, it's virtually impossible to do well. And so there's one thing being faster, and then the next thing is being able to race. And that's the thing with this, like, I picked up the speed and then learning to race, and now with the hot rod I've got to do the same thing. You've got to develop the speed first and then the racecraft, and it's a different sort of racecraft. These are a lot narrower, that's a lot wider, and different diffs in them, so they handle differently, but it's also just being able to set up those passes, running wide to get the low exit, and learning the tracks as well. I mean, these go anti-clockwise, so you learn them one way, and then other formats go clockwise, and you have to learn on the tracks again.
What do you think the key is to being good at oval racing? What do you think
It depends which formula you're in. I've raced 3 different ones now, so I've done Formula 1s.
Right.
I did a formula called Rebels. I don't know if you've ever seen them before, but they look like a little old Ford Popular shape.
Right.
They have a Robin Reliant engine in them.
Oh, right. Okay.
So the Formula 1's really, for me, I think that's, to be good in that, I think you've got to be quite brave because it's full contact.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
The more with the Rebels and these, definitely, it's about being consistent. Right. So you've definitely got to you've got to be on the same line every lap, and try and set the car. Setting this up more so. The other formulas, when I raced them, the setup wasn't as vital, but in these, the setup's got to be spot on, and you've got to be consistent.
Right.
And I think in terms of like championship points, a few years I've raced this, I've been there or thereabouts. It's been about knowing when to settle for second.
Right.
So it's consistency is probably the most important thing in these, more than
not ruining the race trying to go for first, I guess.
Yeah, and especially in the juniors, because you can't lose a lot of momentum in them.
Right.
You've got to keep your momentum up because the engines are so small and they're all pretty evenly matched.
I've always said it, and I'll say it again. Consistency is key, and practice is the key to consistency. That seems to be the main thing here that everyone agrees on. The other thing you may have noticed is the guys mention quite a lot of different formulas and race categories. Not only that, but you may have seen quite a few different race series in the background of this video. I will talk about them, but I think I've been rambling on long enough for one video, so I'll save that for another time. I've already got a video in the works for banger racing and the various other categories there that weekend. I may, however, have something a little bit different in store for my next video, so keep an eye out for that. I'd just like to take a moment to thank all the participants in this video, Mark, Harry, Adam, and the American Cup car racing community for being so helpful and welcoming. The 2024 season has just finished, but check out their website for more info on the 2025 season. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to Buxton Raceway where I filmed this video. Again, they were extremely friendly and helpful. I couldn't recommend them enough if you want a fun day out. It's very affordable, non-stop action, and set in a beautiful location with some incredible driving roads on the way to get there. Finally, I just wanted to give a massive thank you to my friend Kirsty, who has been helping me out behind the scenes to create a new logo and generally update and improve my YouTube channel. Go check out her work at Kirsty Richardson Design on Instagram. Or if you're into the whole streaming thing, she's also on Twitch at Toast Splatoon. Anyway, that's all from me. As always, thanks for watching.